It's been rough. All the opinions that people share about how difficult this journey can get are true. They've been validated in so many scenarios where people get burnt out, to countless other reasons as to why it just doesn't work out. Everything you heard is true. All the horror stories are true. Make no mistake. But that just makes my moment that much sweeter. I got invited to Steam Next Festival, one of the biggest stages for an indie game to be, where thousands of eyes are on your project, your masterpiece, and everyone is so critical from all angles. I've made it through one of the toughest storms, and now I can see clear skies. Now it's time. I believe what I've created is amazing, but subjectivity is real. So how will this fare in the midst of objectivity? Your opinions. Well, let me just say that this is no proof of concept playtest like before. If you played the first demo I released, that's literally all it was, but not this time. Now, I have a full mission, loot drops, abilities, boss fights, base of operations, an open world environment, unique enemies. This game is nothing to play with. And yes, I feel confident calling it that. Listen, y'all, I'm not trying to boast, but no one knows what I or anyone in my position has gone through to produce something like this. You can't know. So I just want to reiterate how critical this moment is for me. Because I told you a while back when I started, I lost my data, right? Months of content gone in an instant. Yeah, it was rough. And every time something like that happens, it can break an individual down little by little until they finally end up calling it quits. Or it can make you stronger each time and become a catalyst to increasing or expanding the greatness within you. You see, this happened to me not only that one time I mentioned, but 2 more times after that. One was because of me and my ignorance of file saving. The most recent was not my fault though, and it happened during the time I was preparing my demo for Steam Next. So I started building my demo a month and a half in. My stuff got lost. So I'm like, okay, am I still going to be able to make it for Steam Next? I had to dig deep. And this speaks to the fact that you sometimes have zero control of how God is trying to mold you into something better when things like this happen to you. It was hard to keep going after this, but I came to realize that the more I pushed myself through the hardship and forced myself to not give up, there are certain things you begin to learn about yourself that you can only know if you go through something like that. This is why this moment is so important to me. But let me start from the beginning. For those of you who don't really know the evolution of my story from conception to inception, this all started with an idea. And the crazy thing is that when writing all of this down, then conceptualizing it, I had no clue how I was going to implement it or if it would even work. Like, for example, there's a helmet called Terminal, a DPS version of the healer class. This helmet has a perk called Entropic Scanner. When activating this perk while looking at an enemy, you enter something called the state of focus. Whomever that victim is within your view then suffers a damage over time effect for a short time. Now the lore for every single ability and perk goes deep. For those of you who love stuff like that, you will be able to explore all of this at the Sanctuary when you play my game, which is a pretty dope area. But who knew I'd be able to actually pull off a perk like this? But I did. Here's another example. Back in the day, last year I made a devlog called Enemy Types. It was when I revealed my first enemy that was able to basically attack and move. It was real exciting for me at that time. Now, this example speaks volumes of how much I value your opinion when it comes to ideas to add into Identity Rebels. Because this enemy type was one of a heavy, and his name's the Butcher. Very slow moving to the point where it was actually laughable. So one of you came up with an awesome solution in the comments. I can't remember who exactly said it, but I do remember exactly what they said. Their suggestion was to add a staggering effect to your character when he attacks in order to compensate for the lack of his movement speed. So I ended up making this come into fruition, and it is so awesome. And I remember in that Enemy Types video, I said this: now that moment is here. And when fighting, sometimes I tend to forget that the Butcher is even there until it's too late. I could be fighting a group of nomads and he'll slowly walk up behind me and delete me in one hit. Yeah, he hits hard. Plus, if there are other enemies around while he attacks, even near you, Your character will stagger, which will make you vulnerable to other attacks. It's an ingenious idea. Now, I can't forget about the armor. Ultra Tech, I call it. Something that immediately came to mind when thinking of a name for it. And this is insane because I knew that I wanted to design my own armor from the beginning and not hire anyone to do it. To me, this aspect more than ever had to have its own style. When I first started to draw it, I got references from modern day bulletproof vests with a mix of fantasy armor I'd see from certain futuristic type shooters. The helmets stemmed from the same thought process. The result was astounding to me. This is actually the first time that I'm able to showcase the full set of gear on my player. I feel like, to me, none of this looks tacky or out of place. It all has a certain swag to it. These are just a few of the new features in Identity Rebels, but there are so many more. And that was a brief overview of how, when I conceptualized certain things in the game, what the finished product came to be. When it comes to the story, well, it's huge, and I had a lot of ideas for it because I'm a big fan, a huge fan actually, of the Fallout series, Skyrim, almost anything Bethesda. Also, the Division series is huge for me, and Gears of War, which I eventually stopped playing. But my game has a little bit of all those games, and the final ingredient is my own flavor. And here are some ideas I have for the story aspect of this that I thought up but was unsure that I could pull off. This is also in the realm of what I was talking about earlier. Not even speaking from the aspect of the actual main story, I always found it exciting to venture off into the unknown of the open world maps. Like in Zelda Breath of the Wild, I travel far off the beaten path to explore the far reaches of the map. One time I found a Lionel and was so eager to kill it and figure out what it would give me. Like, why is this Lionel all the way out here? What does it have for me? What's special about it? You know, that mystery. Or in Fallout, when traveling to the far northeast of the map, I'd encounter a sniper that lives in that area, one who was protected by a minefield, and if you came close, would start shooting at you on sight. Let's just say that in my game, there's an abandoned shopping mall, and when you get there, you know what? I'm not even going to spoil it for you. You can experience that once you play it for yourself. The point is that I love these types of Easter eggs and hidden adventures that are not a part of the main story. This helps so much with replay value and overall enjoyment of the game. So when it comes to the overall main story, it is fully realized when playing Identity Rebels. When running through the environment, you can feel what you're playing. It makes you want to actually liberate Regime City and bring it back to the way society was intended to be. There are also some elements of sadness with triumph to go with it. So I really believe that if you play my game, you'll get a truly enjoyable experience because I've put my all into it, and there's no way you can truly know how. Identity Rebels will be available for all of you to play and view at the annual Steam Next Festival on June 19th through June 26th. It will be alongside many other games, and I'll be live streaming the first and the third days of the event, which I'm allotted. If you join me during those times, I'll be playing my game live while answering any of your questions about the game that you may have. Also, what features will be there in the future. In the meantime, just like this video and subscribe to the Identity Games channel. All the information about everything I referenced in the video are linked in the description below. Don't forget to comment as well, letting me know what you think about all this. That'll do it for this one. I'll catch you in my next video. Peace.